Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This will be my Invincible Season 3 video. There's a bunch of teasers and previews for the upcoming episodes that we got, a bunch of stuff from the comics they're adapting, really WTF moments, and based on what Robert Kirkman said, we're not going to have to wait nearly as long as we did between Season 1 and Season 2. And it seems like we're not going to get that weird break in the middle of the season that everybody hated during Season 2, like they're not going to do that again, thankfully. So we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. Robert Kirkman made it sound like they could go forever, like they'll continue past what the original material was in the comics, because they are stretching stuff out, rearranging a couple things when things happen. But based on all the previews that were released, it sounds like we have a pretty good idea of what the progression season to season will be between Season 3 and Season 4, Season 5 at least. So starting at number 10, the Invincible War looks like it's going to be the bulk of Season 3. Based on all the previews, it seems like it's going to end by episode 8, like it'll be 8 episodes in Season 3, 8 episodes in Season 4, however long the show winds up going. We start on a preview of the evil cape-wearing Invincible from an alternate universe. We got a preview of him during Season 2 when they were flashing to alternate worlds to show Angstrom Levy's memories from other versions of himself across the multiverse. Remember, he'd grown confused because of the accident, so he couldn't tell his own memories from other Angstrom Levy's memories. And part of the major conceit that he revealed in episode 1 was that this main version of Mark is the only version in the entire multiverse who winds up being good. Every other version from every other universe that he's seen at least wind up siding with his father and taking over the planet, becoming evil. This one with the cape was the one who killed both him and a version of his son from the comics in that world. He does have a son in the comics. The son has the exact same powers as Angstrom Levy. This other one right next to him is another version of him from another world where he wears a more tactical, militaristic suit, but the idea, like I said, is that he's also evil. The Invincible War itself is essentially many different versions of Invincible from across the multiverse who Angstrom Levy pulls together to fight the main Invincible and kill him. It's meant to be a big callback to that first episode of Season 2, the way he used the Maulers from across the multiverse the same way to try and stop him. But at that time, he wasn't trying to kill him because he hadn't been driven insane by the accident yet. He just wanted to slow him down so he could finish his experiment. Here's the other thing too, zoom in and enhance in the background. This fight looks like it's going down in Tokyo, Japan. Just because of their powers, it seems like their war will take place over all different cities in the world, like they'll wind up having this collateral damage all over the planet. Number 9's follow-up to that, Angstrom Levy clearly survives and is able to come back and seek revenge on Mark for the events of the Season 2 finale when he thought he beat him to a pile of mush. It's a real double whammy WTF because this was the moment that broke Mark. He almost went totally insane until the Guardians of the Globe from the future found him and sent him back like, you wouldn't like what you turned into, you'd survive, but it would not be pretty. This is also the moment that convinced him to quit college, go full-time superhero so that he could train to learn to control his powers so that he never did that to anyone else again. Like he didn't want to lose control of himself because he was starting to sense how powerful he could become. Number 8, this is kind of a funny WTF moment. It looks like Cahor returns and is able to break out of his tomb at some point, and they're just continuing the gag that they had during Season 1 and Season 2 with his character. This was the big Chloe Bennett and Ella Purnell cameo scene from Season 2.
You got this?
I can lift a truck. Well, a small one, at least.
The joke was that Chloe Bennett, who most people remember as Quake from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., played a random superhero on the show. They never gave her character an alias, like she's not from the comics, it's just like a totally new character they created for this gag. She and Ella Purnell, who most people remember from the Fallout TV show, also on Amazon. It was a total banger. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing. I've done a couple videos for us, so I'll link them at the end of this and down in the description below. They were looking for her father, the archaeologist who unwittingly disturbed Cahor's tomb in Season 1. But the whole joke of his curse is that he could only escape the tomb if he had a male body to inhabit and they were two women, so he was still ultimately stuck inside that tomb. Since it looks like he makes it outside of his tomb at some point, the joke during Season 3 might be that the Invincible War winds up causing collateral damage that breaks the tomb here, so he finds a way to escape somehow, but then their fight, like if we're talking about the gag just continuing, the collateral damage from the Invincible War fight, like all these different versions of Invincible fighting each other, also wind up getting him trapped again, like he briefly escapes, but then gets trapped again. That's the whole joke each season. Number 7, couple more versions of Invincible from other universes. This is a Viltrumite version of Mark. It looks like their fight destroys a large portion of Chicago again. They made a huge deal about that during Season 2 with the reconstruction efforts after Season 1 when he was fighting Omni-Man, and that wasn't even that big of a fight. You have to imagine a bunch of versions of Mark showing up and fighting each other all across the world, doing this to a bunch of cities. Notice this version of Mark is wearing a white Viltrumite military uniform, like their standard uniform, meaning that on his world, presumably, he already joined Omni-Man, they took over their world, it became a colony for Viltrum, and he formally joined the Viltrumite military, which is what would happen in the main universe if things went down the way that Omni-Man had planned them to go down originally. The new plan that Thrag, the regent of their people, created is that people would go around creating half-breeds, take over the planet with the half-breed, set them up as sort of the ruler of that planet, and it would just become another colony for Viltrum. Taking over the galaxy the long way around, but because their lifespans were so long, it didn't matter that they were taking longer to do this. But the idea is that the half-breed child that would be created on each different planet would eventually just become part of the regular Viltrum military. This other version of Mark is just a Mohawk version that seems like it also extends to a New York City fight. Number 6, these all just look like random college students from Mark's former college where Amber's still going. It seems like the war extends to the college itself. Maybe Mark tries to save Amber and they just follow him there. So even though they broke up at the end of the season, Amber, the character, will likely come back for at least a few scenes or part of what's happening during the war here. Even though Mark is now moving on to Adam Eve as like his next big love interest, she's really meant to be the best girl of the series, if we're talking about anime tropes here. Speaking of which, Mark and Adam Eve's relationship will slowly develop over the course of the Season 3. He was still so traumatized at the end of Season 2, it just sounds like they were going to wait a little while till they actually did get together, but they do get together during Season 3 based on some of these previews. Speaking of which, number 5, this is a preview of Adam Eve's powers going all wonky and them in bed together. Now there's like 10 different things going on in this preview here, so don't worry, we'll cover all this stuff here. Probably the biggest thing, though, the idea in the comics is the reason why her powers go all wonky like this is because she gets pregnant with Mark's child, and it's just her body's reaction to the pregnancy. And remember, even though he's technically half Viltrumite, the Viltrumite half of his body essentially overpowers his DNA so that in time, when he fully matures, like he fully comes into his powers, his Viltrumite DNA overpowers his entire body, and his body's more like that of a full Viltrumite. And the show's only briefly touched on this in the Adam Eve prequel episode, but she is way more powerful than the show has let on in the past. If she could fully tap into her powers, she would be one of the most powerful people in the universe next to the Viltrumites. So any children that the two of them had would essentially get all the greatest powers in the universe. Now here's the thing, like without getting into too many spoilers, if you have read the comics, it's all laid out there so you can actually read what winds up happening. They'll be adapting it this way. But if you have read ahead, please don't post all those spoilers in the comments. The idea is that there's many WTF left turns that the story takes. Like, that's probably as much as we need to say. Like, things do not end the way you think they end for this particular moment here. But because there are like 10 different things going on in this preview here, like there's so many questions that this also raises. Notice he's wearing his new blue suit that they teased in all the intros during Season 2. Art winds up making this for him, probably at some point early in the season. He's also got special braces helping heal his leg and arms, so this is meant to be after the Invincible War is over, like at the very end of Season 3. Speaking of which, number 3, here's a preview of a bunch of characters from the Invincible War. These are a mixture of the Mohawk Invincible. It looks like Donald gets smashed to bits again. Remember, he made his peace with that during Season 2 and asked Cecil to wipe his mind again, so no matter how many times it gets wiped, they can always bring parts of him back and put his consciousness into other bodies. These other characters are new heroes based on the comics who help fight the other Invincible variants from other universes in the different cities that the war spills over into with all this collateral damage. Down below, though, we see even more of them from the main Earth. This is also a really big moment. Oliver, who's older, come into his powers, and it looks like he might be able to kill one of the Invincible variants with long hair here. This uniform is also right out of the comics, too. He goes by the alias Omni-Man Jr., that's why he has the O on his chest. Speaking of which, number 2 WTF, Omni-Man returning as the teaser from the end of Season 2 revealed, and Alan the Alien helping him break out of the Viltrumite prison. We'll see if there's other characters that are inside that Viltrumite prison. The comic book arc that they're adapting for that particular storyline is a little bit bigger. When he said, "I think I miss my wife," he was also talking about Debbie. People are like, which wife is he talking about? But the main idea is that Alan the Alien was breaking him out so that he could help Thetis in his quest to stop the Viltrumites, and that's the Viltrumite War, which is like a whole separate conflict that doesn't take place till way later in the story. Number one WTF though, we have Anissa, Conquest, and Thrag all coming on their completely separate thing from what's happening with the Invincible War during Season 3. You still have all the regular Viltrumites who will eventually return to Earth to make sure that Mark upheld his end of the bargain to take over the planet in his father's place. So part of the progression, just based on the way they're laying Season 3 out, is that Season 3 is largely just the Invincible War. It sounds like Season 4 will be Conquest, then after Conquest, Anissa will come back and do all the messed up things to Mark that she does to him in the comics. No spoilers for that. Then there's eventually the Thrag character, so I would expect to get a teaser for Thrag maybe at the end of Season 3 or at the end of Season 4. So Thrag would be largely like a Season 5 kind of character. But there's a bunch of stuff going here, there's so much stuff that I didn't even touch on during this video, so if you have any questions or there's any Easter eggs that you spotted in the previews that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments and I'll add them to my future bonus videos. We'll probably get a bigger trailer for Season 3 towards the end of this year too. My expectations will get Season 3 sometime in the first part of next year. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up. We have The Boys Season 4 episodes, House of the Dragon Season 2 episodes, Acolyte episodes. I'll be doing videos for all of those week to week. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Click here for my Fallout Season 2 teaser trailer video, and click here for my Boys Season 4 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.